3, 2, 1. Today's podcast is presented by PODGO. PODGO is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from PODGO. We recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. Don't forget to add the 2-on-1 podcast in the How Did You Hear About PODGO section of your application. Now get ready for the rest of the episode. Daniel, did you know 17 different NHL general managers received votes for the Jim Gregory Award the last 2 years, and Kyle
Really?
Dubas did not receive a single vote?
Oh no.
I
I know
thought
who
you might
that
want to know
I
that.
know. I'm
I just
surprised, who wrote that? Like
I don't
who
know. I
who
can't
who
tell
who
you.
could write that?
I don't know. I feel like someone hacked into someone's Twitter account. I don't know.
Mm.
I just thought you might want to know because it's very useful information to kind of throw out nowhere in any conversation that you'd ever
Mhm.
have.
What did we learn before? Oh, did it have news value? If
No.
not, then
The
why
answer is
then don't publish it.
the answer is no. Again, it's just Daniel and I. Adam's, well, he'll be back eventually.
Yeah.
He's probably listening to the episode.
He is probably
though.
listening.
So I guess we should say hi to him.
Hi Adam.
There is a lot to go through, but let's start with some of the staff signings so far. Obviously, this afternoon, we learned that the Arizona Coyotes have brought in Bill Armstrong from St. Louis, who was the assistant general manager. It feels like this is another guy who's going to be leaving St. Louis. I'm just pointing it out.
They're bleeding everywhere. Management, players, everywhere.
I mean, a couple of days ago, they said he was a finalist, so this doesn't really come as a surprise to me. I was very disappointed to not see Pierre Maguire, obviously.
I know. That have been the story of the year, I think. Pierre returns on a larger platform.
Why? No, let's not give him
No?
that.
Okay.
Let's not give him please. What do you think? I mean, we talked about Bill Armstrong before. Obviously, he was a finalist for the Panthers general manager job as well before they brought in Bill Zito. What do you think of Arizona bringing this guy in?
Not really surprised. I know that they had the same kind of pool of candidates when it came to this GM position. Bill Armstrong, he's a known name, and I think that's what Arizona needs to go for right now is consistency and I guess like reliability at this point. Not really sure what he's kind of bring to the team, like whether he's like one side analytics or one side like just pure evaluation, but I think it's definitely a guy that's well known, someone that could bring some stability to this team. That's just story after story that we've talked about. It's just this is a good silver lining for them.
Yeah, they really need someone to stabilize them and take them out of being a dumpster fire like they've been for. Like, I don't want to compare them to this team because I feel bad for the other team in comparing them, but they're in a weird situation and like they're trying to rebuild, but they think they're ahead of schedule, like the Minnesota Wild, who have been in the middle for the last how many years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, he has one job to do right now, and apparently they've already received an offer about this player. Now, we talked to him last episode in Darcy Kemper. Apparently they've received a deal for a late teens or 20s first round pick, and
Not bad.
like they're looking for a first round pick. We'll see. Let me pull up Cap Friendly right now. Let's see who is in that area. I know the two teams that stood out the most when I first heard that were obviously Calgary and Edmonton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea for them to kind of get back into the first round, especially like when we've talked before about, I guess, how deep this draft is compared to like previous years. Um, I to be honest, they didn't get burned as much as I thought they would with that Taylor Hall trade. I think what they gave up 18th overall to the Devils.
Yes, 18th
So
overall to the Devils, and three prospects, I guess.
yeah, I remember when we were thinking like, man, they just gave up a lottery pick for like the rental of Taylor Hall, and I guess they've been kind of they eased up a bit on that by making it out of the play-in round, but yeah, like if they would want to get back, that'd be a significant addition to what they're kind of trying to do. And for someone like Darcy Kemper, what I kind of feel is he's kind of like Oliver Ekman Larson. Like you get rid of those two guys, and I think that's when the floodgates open of a full scale rebuild at that point. Like those two guys are the only ones I could really see as like they are the consistent faces of that team.
And yeah, yeah, and then well, we've been talking about Clayton Keller for how long, and you sign into a contract like that, and I mean, you can chalk it up to a sophomore slump, which I mean, listen, players go through all the time. I mean, Clayton Keller isn't. I mean, they're not going to trade Clayton Keller. Obviously, I think there's a
Mm-hmm.
couple guys that they're looking to build around, but I think next year is a really important year for Clayton Keller to prove that he deserved that $7 million contract.
For sure. In my opinion, I still think they jumped the gun on that. When you look at where a lot of players were getting like those massive extensions or, those quote unquote bridge deals, he's the kind of guy that I really felt that they gave him the big money way too early. And with the exception of that 1 year, I don't think he's proven himself just yet.
It feels like they gave out the money, like they gave him the term and the dollars, so they didn't have to worry about it come the summer if he had a really good season.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Remind me
that's
of
what it feels like to me.
Yeah, remind me of the Nico Hischier deal. To be honest, like they know like Devils are keep talking like underlying numbers. He's gonna break out, but like it's the same thing too. Like they really gave him the big money right away.
Yeah. So I pulled up here. I have some of the teams that have late teens or mid teens to low 20s picks. Well, Edmonton's 14th. That's a team that's looking for a goalie. I mean, the next two, Toronto. Listen, Toronto could give up that pick to get Darcy Kemper, but then it's all but then
Yeah,
Jesus Anderson is all but gone at that point. Montreal, no. Chicago, no. Chicago's all but signed Corey Crawford. New Jersey, they have Mackenzie Blackwood and $6 million of Corey Schneider somewhere.
yeah,
Calgary,
maybe.
maybe. New
Yeah,
Jersey again. Columbus, no. They're looking to get rid of a goalie, apparently. Um, New York has three goalies. Philly has Carter Hart. Colorado at 24.
that I don't know. Like if they could package that 24th pick with like a prospect, then maybe they could
It,
get something done there.
it really could work because remember when they got eliminated, the discussion that we had was, are Grubauer and Francouz good enough?
Yeah, I don't think they are for the quality of that offense and the way that defense is kind of shaping up now. I don't
Yeah.
think they could move forward with that tandem.
And then the rest of them are a little too high to even consider. So I think it comes down to Calgary, Edmonton, and Colorado who um, could potentially make this deal.
I'm just like even thinking about it too. Like even if they don't get into the first round, like the amount of players that Colorado has coming up that they could kind of swing to the Coyotes' way is just I would take that even if it wasn't a first round pick. Like I know Alex Newhook is pretty he's pretty recent in their development, but I could see that or even a Martin Kaut, something like that where it's a forward they could afford to lose.
Yeah. And let's move on from Arizona. Another team that has brought in a new coach, Peter Laviolette, officially signs with the Washington Capitals at 3 years, just under $15 million in total. What do you think of Peter Laviolette?
I didn't see this coming, to be honest. I remember seeing some really funny tweets about this, where the last time the Capitals got a former Preds coach, it worked out pretty well for them. So
It
they
did.
fully support this. But to be honest, I think it's just too much. I think of the hype and the potential stories that could be involved. I really thought Mike Babcock was going to the Washington Capitals.
That would have been really really interesting considering him and Ovi. I think they would most definitely butt heads. No question, no questions asked. They would most definitely butt heads. Another thing coming out of Washington is it's pretty much confirmed that Braden Holtby is on his way out. Their GM obviously in an interview said that they're expecting Holtby to test free agency.
I'm not surprised, to be honest. And if I am the Capitals, don't sign the guy because he's at that point where he's not at the end of his career, but he's looking for that one last long term contract. And we talked about the goalie market where he may not get. I think last summer we predicted like he's going to get like 8 million a year. I don't think he gets anything close to that now. The way the market's been, especially with the rumors of the Robert Leonard extension at like 5 million a year for 5 years with the Golden Knights. But overall, like cap space is still cap space. It's going to be a flat cap. You already have Ilya Samsonov, that someone that I think the way this team is structured, you give the guy a chance to be your starter, and he's proven it in stretches. He's proven that he could be consistent, but at this point, the way the core is kind of aging right now, the way that the Capitals are still hoping to kind of add to that OV Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Wilson core, you don't bring back Braden Holtby knowing that he's not gonna give you, I think, above 900 all the time, or he's gonna be able to play 50 games.
Yeah, and I think that the backup goalie market or that 1B market is pretty rich uh, this summer. And listen, like I don't know if they necessarily trust Ilya Samsonov enough. I don't know if I trust Ilya Samsonov enough to play 60 games. And I know they have, 60, 65 games. And I know they have Phoenix Copley, who they signed to that 3-year deal thinking that this is going to be your backup goalie. I just don't know if they trust him enough either as a backup. So if I'm them, I would risk losing Phoenix Copley to waivers if he has to go through them next season and bring in a more reliable backup goalie. Like we'll see what I'm not saying they're going to sign him, but someone like Anton Hudobin. Now at this point, I don't know how much money he's going to make, and we'll get to him
8 and 7.
Like honestly, at this point, we'll see how much. We'll talk about him later. But a guy like that, like Thomas Greiss, is going to be a UFA, and New York, I don't think are going to sign him.
I can really see that fit there. Yeah,
well,
that'd be a great fit.
Yeah, and the Islanders are bringing in Ilya Sorokin from I believe the KHL, so that's where their backup is, plus Semyon Varlamov. So I think there's a few goalies who are going to be on the market that should tempt Washington.
Yeah.
Anything else about Washington before we move on?
This is a bad time for Braden Holtby to hit free agency. I know because within his contract, and you don't know what the outside forces are going to be like.
Oh, it's the worst time.
Yeah, but it's the worst time now.
It's the worst possible time. Right, like he did not have a good year. He did not have a good playoff run, and we don't know what the market's going to be like because we know, and we talked about it last episode, the flat cap, they say it's going to be 3 years. I just find that really hard to believe.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be longer, and I hope I'm wrong. Obviously I hope I'm wrong. But like you look at the Robin Leonard deal, how do you justify getting that much more than Robin Leonard for that type of term? Obviously, last episode we talked about Jeff Ward most likely being the full-time head coach.
Yeah.
And obviously, they announced it. The other guy, Pierre LeBrun, I saw the tweet. For a while now, all indications were that head coach Bob Bugner would have his interim tag removed with the San Jose Sharks, and I'm told that's finally going to happen over the next week or two.
Listen, I think that's great. He's been a very, what I've talked about, a positive, I guess, like one positive aspect of that Sharks season. If it's a guy that has been able to kind of like win over, the team, he's been able to have confidence in him from upper management. I think it's a guy that, you ride that ship, because this is not a full scale rebuild with the Sharks, because financially they cannot afford that. And
no one's going to take on any of those contracts.
Yeah. So, it's a good indication of a guy that could help them along the way in what I feel is more of a transition time for them, where they kind of realize, okay, who are going to be the main guys? What do we have coming up? And to be honest, like, how do we just deal with injury problems? Because this team really, was pretty bad with that. And the goaltending as well, we've talked about it before, but, this is a worse situation as well. Like, I don't think, as much as I love Martin Jones for his 2010 efforts at the World Juniors, he does not deserve his contract.
No. And when I saw the tweet about this, I remember they brought on Rocky Thompson, who's obviously Golden Knights, Chicago Wolves head coach. And listen, like they brought him on as assistant. I have a feeling that they're just grooming Rocky Thompson at this point in the NHL as an assistant coach. And if Bob Bugner doesn't work, that's your guy.
Yeah, it's, for me, it reminds me of like the Ken Hitchcock, Mike Yeo situation in St. Louis, where they're like, listen, Ken, you're only going to be here for the year, so Mike Yeo is going to take over. And they didn't even wait the year; they gave Mike Yeo the full-time position like midway through the season. So maybe it's like that. Maybe it's like he's on the hot seat now, Bob Bugner, that they're saying, listen, we're going to bring you back, and we want you to perform. We want the team to perform, and if not, you're gone.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens between Bob Bugner and the San Jose Sharks. Now let's get to some exciting things that have happened. We had a big contract extension.
Yeah.
Jonas Brodin, Minnesota Wild, actual defenseman. He actually plays defense, signed a 7-year extension with the team, 7 years, $6 million. What do you think of that deal?
A loyalty contract right there. I think in terms of the length he was given and that cap hit, that's such a good cap hit for Jonas Brodin. The Wild really, this is what we've talked about before, where they make these decisions and they keep adding older players with big contracts to this team, but somehow they are always able to kind of come out on top with these deals, like Brodin staying on that deal, which I love. Getting Kevin Fiala, and somehow he's panning out. Like, something seems to always happen with this team. Or after giving up Alex Tuch to the Golden Knights, they get someone in the draft like Luke Cunnin, who's been able to kind of, soften the blow with that loss. So great with the Wild. At the same time, too, it's just this back to that same question we always had of what are they now?
I don't know. And well, because you think about it, next year, and I think it's bigger than just what they are now, is next year there's the expansion draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have to protect Spurgeon. They have to protect Ryan Suter. And I believe he has a no-move clause in this as well. So now you have to protect Brodin, which means you either protect 4 forwards and 4 defensemen, or you let Matt Dumba walk to Seattle. Because if Seattle doesn't pick Matt Dumba, they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I think there's to me, there's a lot of questions that are not answered. And, listen, I think signing Brodin was a priority. I don't think you let this guy go, even if you're in a rebuild, because he is one of the best defensemen who can actually play defense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The only guy, we talk about Hedman. Hedman can play defense, but you look at the other guys up there, and
John Carlson,
in Carlson, in Doughty, in Eric Carlson, offense is their thing, right? Their offense, at the end of the day, they are an offensive defenseman. But this guy can actually play defense, and that's why it works so well on this team. So I don't think trading Brodin would have been a smart move for the team. Now, there's one guy I just brought him up who could be on the move, and I hate having to bring this up every single time we talk about Matt Dumba, that he's going to be traded. And Adam brought it up, always brings it up, that the only time we talk about Matt Dumba is when he's going to be traded.
Yeah.
I have a quote, and it's about the team I think is going to surprise you. I do think the team is going to surprise you a bit. Matt Dumba, if he is not the Canucks' top trade target, he's among their top targets this offseason. As I understand it, they'll take a run at him. I don't think their first offer is going to be Brock Besser. They'll inquire to the Wild if they haven't already. The quote continues, Brock Besser is a guy the Wild will probably ask for. That's who they asked for when the Canucks talked to them about Zucker over a year ago. But what I gather right now is the Canucks would try to make the deal with giving him up initially.
Yeah, that's surprising to me.
Does it make any sense to you why the Canucks would try to bring in Matt Dumba?
I think if the Canucks view that there's a reshuffling going on with everything, like for sure Chris Tanev is gone, and you're not going to give the same amount of minutes to Alex Edler. You still have Tyler Myers with that huge contract, so I don't know. Maybe they're just going for that consistency on the right side more.
But how about Troy Stetcher's an RFA? Are you going to pay Troy Stetcher?
I know that's the thing too. I'm just thinking. I'm like, I don't understand why the Canucks would kind of be on this, because they have so many guys to re-sign in the next few seasons that they're going to add more money to it again.
At the beginning of the season, I remember them even thinking about Troy Stetcher was a question. Are we going to re-sign Troy Stetcher? Because the same thing happened last year with Ben Hutton. Remember, they didn't give him a qualifying offer. Obviously, he ended up in LA. But why give up someone like Besser to bring in Matt Dumba?
Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me, to be honest. I've said it before. I love the guy, but just if there's that hankering for a right side on your defense, then maybe, or I don't know, controllable money. But the thing is, Brock Besser too, he's on such a great contract as well that I don't see the swap happening.
Yeah, it doesn't. Unless, here's the thing. Here's the only reason I look at doing that. You trade, and it'd be a really stupid thing to do, but I think it's something they might look at. If you trade Brock Besser for Matt Dumba, in my opinion, Brock Besser is worth more than Matt Dumba. Would you argue? Would you agree?
Yeah. Also younger, 3 years younger.
Right. If they can attach one of their garbage deals that will screw them over at the end of next season, do you think about doing that deal?
I can see that happening. I personally don't think it's going to be Louis Erickson. That's an
No.
untouchable contract. It may be I think out of the value, out of the other horrible contracts they have in that bottom six, I would look at Anton Roussel, to be honest, and then Jay Beagle as the second option. But in terms of, it's just weird because like for me, it's just like you're throwing money back in a trade to a team that's really bad with cap management.
Yeah. I mean, we know Minnesota is willing to take on that pretty much dead cap. It seems like because again, now Michael Russo didn't confirm that they're going to do this, but he said there's a good chance that they go back and look at that Parise for Andrew Ladd plus deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially bringing on dead cap and Andrew Ladd. I guess the only difference is it's shorter than the Parise deal. I really want to have Harman Dial on again because I want to know the thought process of why you trade Brock Besser for Matt Dumba, considering the situation that they're in.
Yeah, I'm just even thinking of other right side options that the Canucks could take that it wouldn't have to like they would it'd be an easier option for them to dump this type of money. Like I know it's not to compare, but like I don't know, like Buffalo, like Henry Yokoharu.
But why do they have to bring? I don't understand why they have to bring in a right-handed defenseman. Even okay, let me pull this up. Let's say you're still sticking with Tyler Myers, right? Like I don't think you're getting out of that contract.
No, not at
Chris
all.
Tanev is a free agent. I know Harman said last time when we had him on that it was one of their priorities, but I don't think it was their top. They have Troy Stetcher.
Yeah.
There's no way you can bring in Troy Stetcher, and when you trade for Matt Dumba, you're taking on 125,000 more in cap space. How much is Troy Stetcher possibly going to cost you?
2.65. That's what I think per year.
Like it's not as much as Matt Dumba. I don't think you have to spend $12 million on two right-handed defensemen. But that's my opinion.
If they're still going to explore that market, like personally, I think I've mentioned it before, where I would look at. I know his value is kind of low right now, but if they could do something as a sign and trade, like I wouldn't mind seeing like Jake Virtanen or something. Not get someone like Matt Dumba, but someone, I guess,
a
like
package.
Making a package for it.
I mean, I could see them trading Jake for 10, and obviously I think we talked about it last episode or 2 episodes ago, that it didn't seem Jim Benning was really impressed with him. So, and he's a RFA with arbitration rights. So we'll see what happens there. Do you have anything else on the? Well, let me. I guess I didn't really give my spiel on the. On the Jonas Brodin contract, we kind of went off script.
Towards the Canucks.
I do. I think that's a really good contract. I mean, I said it. He's probably one of the best defensemen who can actually play defense in the league, up there with the Jacob Slavins. I can't complain about the contract, even the term, and I think it's a really good signing for the Minnesota Wild. Now we have a couple other tidbits about some players who haven't signed a contract, could sign a contract, or could leave their current team. Joel Edmundson, and I texted Adam about this last night, because the more I think about this deal, the more I take the deal from good to okay. And I'll tell you why. How many times did Adam complain on the podcast that Montreal needed a proper top 4 left-handed defenseman?
I guess every day, including the chat.
Every time we talked about it, right?
Yeah.
And I understand depth, and I understand it's important to have depth in the playoffs. He said Xavier Ouellet was playing in the playoffs. I'm like, yeah, but you're not signing Joel Edmundson to a contract for him to not play. Like listen, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like we talked about Shane Gostisbehere. I think that guy needs a new place to play, and I really do think Montreal would be a great place to try. Play him next to Petrie, play him next to Weber, whoever the hell you want. Because now we're in a situation where, okay, you're playing Ben Sherratt, you're playing Brett Kulak, you're playing Victor Mete, and now you have Joel Edmundson and Alex Romanov.
Yeah, it's a glut of
Like,
left-handed defensemen right there.
and the thing is, these guys seem like, okay, Edmundson and Sherratt seem like, okay, it was a okay signing. Like I remember when Sherratt signed, I think it was one of our first episodes that we did. I'm like, listen, man, like I get he's big, but he's also like, I think we didn't expect him to be as good as he was in Montreal. And I don't know if it's going to be the same case with Joel Edmundson. Like I think he'll be a great bottom pairing guy, or even if you need him to be a number 4 to pair him with Petrie.
I think with the Canadians, what they're doing is there's a lot of that reshuffling that if Edmundson, depending on what that cap hit's going to look like, maybe he absorbs the big minutes now until maybe in the future there's another deal that Marc Bergevin's going to do to actually address that top 4, or wait to see, like, maybe Alex or I'm just going to be optimistic about this. Maybe Alex Romanov performs above expectations.
That's a possibility. Now I have a quote about his cap hit from Francois Gagnon of RDS. Habs and Joel Edmundson are negotiating, listen to this, a 3 to 5 year contract with a possible $4 million AAV. An agreement is imminent, possibly before the weekend. Also, discussions have started for Brendan Gallagher's agent and Marc Bergevin. We'll get to the Brendan Gallagher stuff just after this.
It's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
Like, okay, this is go on.
Go.
This is what I kind of felt is that you gave up that 5th for these exclusive negotiating rights to kind of get a contract down to, like, for me, I'd give Joel Edmundson, I don't know if I'm just splitting hairs here, but like 3.1 or 3.3 million a year on a 3-year deal.
Maybe
that's kind of like,
if I'm being honest,
I kind of be the guy where
I think I'd give him below 3 if I'm being honest.
Below 3, okay.
I think I'm being harsh, but considering the situation Montreal is in, I don't know if Joel Edmundson was the full right guy to bring in. I think he's good. Like Adam said, he's good for depth, but I get you had Ouellette playing. You're going to pay $3 to $4 million for depth. Like, I get Montreal has the cap space, but and I understand the quotes from Brendan Gallagher about money this, money that. To be honest, I think players just say that to say in a lot of the cases. They have to eventually re-sign Suzuki. They eventually have to re-sign Kotkaniemi. Philip Deneau, what are they doing with him? Right, so Tatar, Jeff Petrie, like all these guys are coming up, so that cap space is gonna be eventually used. Why are you spending money on depth pieces? And Adam's right. Adam's texted me saying, "Listen, if he does not bring in an actual scorer, why? How do you not spend money on a scorer? You dealt with the backup goalie." The defense was an issue, but I think depending on what Alex Romanov becomes as that bottom pairing defenseman next year, could move up to the top 4. You still don't have, like, the scoring seemed to be an issue. Mike Hoffman is going to be a UFA.
Possibility there, yeah.
Oh, no, come on. No, Florida's not paying Mike Hoffman.
No, they're not. They're not paying Evgeny Dadonov either.
No, both of them are going to be on the market. If I'm Montreal, I go get one of them. You have to. If you're Marc Bergevin, or you somehow finesse a trade to bring a scorer in. Because obviously,
negotiating rights to Taylor Hall.
I don't think Adam would. I don't know if Adam would like that.
Okay.
But we're in agreement that the Edmundson deal at 3 to 5 years for $4 million doesn't make sense.
5 years is way too long. Like that's and for 4 million, yeah, that's like we've talked about before. We are fans of Joel's game.
Sure,
His
yeah.
thing is we're fans of Joel when he's on a St. Louis Blues or a Carolina Hurricanes defense.
No, listen, I can be a fan of him on this team. It's not that he's a Canadians player. It's the fact that you're bringing in another depth guy,
Mm,
and now you're going to pay him $4 million, around $4 million a year. I don't know. Like, he had an off year.
he did.
Joel Edmundson had an off year in Carolina. What's the justification?
I guess reshuffling that they've dealt with injuries here and there, so maybe he didn't really know his role. I kind of felt because some nights
Because
he
they
was
had
like
because they had 8 actual NHL defensemen.
yeah. But I agree with you. Like I think the smoke's kind of cleared with that enthusiasm we had initially about it. Now I'm kind of looking at with the reports coming in. Like I don't know if you're gonna. I know it's just a fifth, but like if you're gonna dealt that fifth and still not get like a team friendly contract out of it, then I don't see the point now.
I don't have an issue with the fifth because they have so many picks. And Adam said the same. He's like, man, like at least he's trying. But now try harder and do something right. That's what I would say.
I think Joel Edmundson on the open market would have gotten that $3 million a year.
Oh yeah, he would have gone if he went to the open market. He would have gotten this deal, no question.
Yeah.
There's a team who needs to hit the cap floor who would give him this deal if he wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to talk about Brendan Gallagher. Apparently, I didn't realize this. There was a golf tournament. There was some quotes that he said about his next contract. Obviously, he's a UFA at the end of next season. And the biggest thing, Brendan Gallagher said money won't be the only factor when it comes to his next contract. Playing for a winning team will be important as well.
I wish I saw Adam's reaction when he read or heard that.
I know. I kind of want to know what it was too.
Yeah.
This is one of the quotes. Those are things when you're thinking about long-term and the strides that these players are going to be able to make. Obviously, talking about the younger guys, it definitely affects your decision-making, and it's a positive sign for sure. If you are Marc Bergevin, do you sign Brendan Gallagher to a contract extension the moment that he becomes a free agent, the moment he becomes eligible for a contract?
I think so. I think you bring back the guy. I don't know. He's become. I never thought I'd say that, but like he's become such a fixture with this team. And then, say what you want of how he plays, especially against your favorite team. But
yeah,
the comments he's kind of brought up is like when someone is like that towards your organization, you definitely bring this guy back.
He's a guy you hate to play against, but would love to have on your team.
Yeah, like I hate watching him against the Leafs, but I love watching him against Boston.
Yeah. Now, I guess the biggest question that has to be asked is what does that deal look like?
I'm going to just say a random figure and say $6 million.
Do you think $6 million? I have a feeling he could get more if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Than $6 million. Right now he's making 3.75.
That's steal
disgusting.
For the Canadians.
That's disgustingly good. I really think he could get like $6.5 to $7 million if he really wanted to.
That's like Sean Couturier loyalty right there.
Well, I'm looking at who does he play like? Who does he play like? The first name that comes to me is Brad Marchand.
Yeah.
And Brad Marchand makes 6.66 or something around there. I'll pull it up on Cap Friendly. Best website.
Do you think he has the scoring potential though as Brad Marchand?
Brad Marchand makes 6.125. Mm, with the right guys around him.
Maybe, because I'm thinking now, or like, oh, he
Let
plays
me
like Brad Marchand, but at the same time too, like, does Phil Deneau play as Patrice Bergeron?
let me ask you this. I'm gonna pull up his stats right now. I'm not saying uh, Brad Marchand isn't a good player. If Brad Marchand is not playing with David Pastrnak and Patrice Bergeron, does he put up 87 points last year? I guess last year. In 2018-19, does he put up 100 points? Does he put up 85 points the year before that and the year before that?
No, I don't think
My
so.
answer is no. I mean,
Yeah,
he still puts up high points totals. I just don't think they're that high.
yeah. And we saw
And
like the World Cup as well, how he plays with both Bergeron and Crosby.
yeah,
So just
so
give him the right center.
that's my justification for giving Gallagher. I think you give Gallagher the right players, that guy will be a pest in front of the net. Zach Hyman is like a poor man's Brendan Gallagher. I love Zach Hyman. It's just the truth. And I think the reason he has that edge over Hyman is I think that offensive ability. Have you ever seen Zach Hyman skate down the side and try to take a shot?
I mean,
It's difficult to
here and
watch.
there when Matthews gets shut down, yeah, you'll
It's
see it.
difficult to
But
watch.
I don't know. I think just with Zach Hyman, he knows his role. He knows he doesn't have to do that stuff. He gets the
Yeah,
dirty
of
work
course.
done.
Of course.
He helps dig and grind.
What is next on the list here? This is big. This is a big one.
Yeah,
Alex
saw it. I was
Pietrangelo.
shocked.
Alex Pietrangelo could be. Let me pull up the tweet. This is from everyone's favorite reporter, Darren Dreger. He said on TSN 1050 that he thinks Toronto and Las Vegas would be near the top of Alex Pietrangelo's list of preferred destinations if he does not re-sign with the Blues.
That's crazy to me. I don't know. Just I know Vegas has been able to get these guys, but
Okay,
wow, they keep shocking us.
I put out a tweet because this didn't listen. I'm sorry, he's not coming to Toronto. I can almost guarantee that the money would be an absolute nightmare. Because now you think about the money that he'd make. Obviously, if you bring in Pietrangelo, Nylander's practically traded. Like I
Yeah,
don't see the math working out there because now we're almost getting up to $50 million for 5 players, and that's just not going to work.
it's not feasible.
No, it doesn't make sense. I think it makes more sense for the Leafs to spend that type of money on more than one player, in my opinion. I think you have a guy in Riley for the Leafs who it's possible for him to take that big step forward, for him to be a number one, hopefully. I think you need to put a guy next to him that can play defense.
Yeah, like
And Ron Hainsey was that.
yeah, like
Not Cody Ceci.
I felt that too. That you need to find a guy where, you know, those things that we say, an actual defenseman, someone who well maybe he'll have some offensive edge to him, but that's not his main. That's not his
He can play
main
defense.
purpose.
That's
Yeah,
it.
like
That's all.
I keep thinking Josh Manson, but I don't think that's happening.
No, I don't.
But a guy like Josh
Unfortunately, I
Manson,
don't think that's happening either.
yeah,
But I was so curious as to who Vegas would give up because they have like $5 million in cap space right now. They got a couple guys they do have to re-sign, like Nick Cousins, Chandler Stevensons is another guy. Thomas Nosek, we'll see that. What do you give up to bring in Alex Pietrangelo? I'd assume it would be a defenseman that you're trading away. I put this question out on Twitter and one person responded, thankfully. And they said Nate Schmidt and Jonathan Marchessault. Now, I don't know why you trade Jonathan Marchessault, in my opinion. I don't think that's
except for his Twitter outbursts.
Except for his Twitter outbursts. But I'd understand why you trade Nate Schmidt. Like he's a very, very good defenseman. Don't get me wrong. I don't see him signing in Las Vegas. That's the issue.
Unless like I don't know, because I didn't think of like Pacioretty going there to sign an extension or Paul Stastny
No,
taking
well,
his
they've been in.
I would say take his talents there, but yeah,
No, that's
like
LeBron.
I
That's
was
in
shocked
Miami.
when, to be honest, like we never mentioned this, but I was shocked when Paul Stastny left Winnipeg. Like the
Really,
family legacy was there.
I guess.
They
Yeah,
made they traded Steve Mason and Joel Armia to
that's
try to
true.
re-sign him, and then he
That's
just
true.
didn't sign with them. So Vegas could surprise us with this.
They most definitely could. And think about it, they've been in how many sweepstakes for players? Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, like you said before, Paul Stastny, and Eric Carlson.
Yeah. And they have
And
the
now
prospects to like move. Like they traded Eric Brandstrom, and they haven't lost a step.
they
That's
do, yeah.
kind of like I realize the depth they have.
They traded
By
Nick Suzuki and nothing changed.
yeah,
Um, But listen, at the end of the day, I really do think Alex Pietrangelo is staying in St. Louis.
I
I
think
think they'll
so
figure.
too.
I think they'll figure something out. He has 4 kids now. He has his wife's from St. Louis. I just think there's. I understand he has roots in Toronto. I understand that. I just don't think number one the money doesn't work, and I don't think he wants to move. Now I read somewhere that he was offered something around $8 million. And I do think he would have accepted $8 million in this market, but when you sign the Justin Falk deal, and then you go and give Marco Scandella money, I don't understand why. It must sour that relationship there a little bit.
I think so. Yeah,
I
it's
think
just like the just in case signings that if he were to leave,
you literally gave Justin Falk Alex Petrangelo's cap hit in 2019.
This still feels to me like a Stamkos kind of thing, where like will he not, and then
Yeah.
because remember he had rumors coming to Toronto.
He had the
and
meeting with
then
Canadian Tire. I remember.
yeah, and then the Detroit Red Wings were a lot better than they are right now in their current iteration.
They
He had
tried
to
to.
meet. They tried to get him too.
Oh
So,
my god.
but the thing is, like at the end, like it's gonna be like this media hoopla that ends
Yeah.
up him staying in St. Louis. I think.
It will be. I guess they're gonna have to find the right price, and I don't think Doug Armstrong is done making moves for
No.
this team. I guess we'll get the Leafs content out of the way.
All right.
I know Adam won't want me to talk about it, but we're gonna do it. Kyle Clifford is all but gone according to his agent. He is going to hit free agency. I'm perfectly fine with this.
You're okay with that? I personally loved it when he came to Toronto. Like the bottom six guy that could skate and give you that grit. I know that it kind of affected Perry Kapanen's game, but he was the kind of guy where there was a lot of complaints about, there was that bite on Toronto. I know Jeff O'Neill kept asking about that, like, oh, where's the bite? Where's the bite on Overdrive? And, they got someone like Clifford. They addressed the backup goalie and that in one trade. And how I kind of feel is that, it's not a huge loss to them, but it's kind of something where I wish things kind of worked out a bit better for him on the team. But, if the rumors are true and they get someone like Wayne Simmons on a similar cap hit maybe, or maybe something in that range, then I wouldn't mind.
Listen, everyone's been talking about Wayne Simmons. The only way this guy comes to Toronto if he's taking a Jason Spezza-like deal. And the thing with that is I think he'd accept it if that was his only offer. And I know he wants to be close to home, but I do think Wayne Simmons has a market. Like, I think there's going to be a bidding war, or there could potentially be a bidding war for for Wayne Simmons. I just don't think Toronto's interested in getting into a bidding war for that guy.
Yeah, like he's not, not how he was a few years ago with he put up 60 points. Um, but he's certainly someone that I could kind of feel that there is still that market. Like even if he doesn't have to be in the top 9 all the time, he is definitely someone that I really wish Toronto could afford him, but that's okay. But in terms of Kyle Clifford, I guess the silver lining there is the Leafs don't give up a second now,
That would
and
be pretty damn good.
yeah, pretty good.
The second thing, and I'm just searching this up right now, but it's between Toronto and St. Louis. That apparently they are making. They're in the. There's talks that they might be making a trade, or working on a trade. What do you think they are talking about?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. How about you go first?
Let's pull up. Listen, I'm not a big fan of trading William Nylander, as you know.
Me too.
But there is a man on the St. Louis Blues I would not mind getting my hands on.
Is this the guy that they've been rumored to be getting for like the last 3 or 4 years?
Yes, sir. And I already last a month and a half ago, I think maybe, I threw this idea out there to Adam. I said, hey, what do you think of a deal centered around William Nylander for Colton Parayko? It doesn't necessarily have to be 1-for-1. And I know St. Louis fans would argue that Toronto needs to add, and Toronto fans would argue St. Louis needs to add. It's centered around those two guys. And he told me no. Because why would you
1-for-1 this would be more fair than Adam Larson and Taylor Hall.
It would most definitely be more fair. I still think Toronto would win that deal because it fits their needs, right? I think it fits their needs more. But the only issue with that one is that St. Louis doesn't get any cap relief if you do it 1-for-1. So that's why I'm looking and thinking there's another guy on this team, and that I think would be interesting to see if they think about at third line center, and a guy like Oscar Sundqvist. It seems like they're gonna try to trade Alex Kerfoot. I don't think Dubas wants to, but to me, I think Kerfoot needs one more year. But I think it'd be interesting to see if there's a deal that is looking at both those guys, or at least that's what makes sense to me.
I think for me, that would make sense is what Toronto's kind of look for in that third line, because I think if they get someone like Oscar Sundqvist, they go back to a more traditional like two-way type of third line where these guys could have some offensive output, but it's not going to be like the 3 scoring lines kind of situation. And I think Alex Kerfoot kind of failed in that. Like he didn't live up to the expectations that I really thought he could put up another 40-point season, and it just wasn't really there. Or even if they moved him off of center, like it just kind of looked kind of off when he came into the top 6. And I guess the comparables is, what is Oscar Sundqvist's contract? Because I know that if they were to trade Alex Kerfoot, they would probably be, more ads on the St. Louis side.
275. Oh, I'm not saying no. Listen, I'm not saying Kerfoot is part of the deal. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying they're talking about moving Kerfoot. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in someone like Sundqvist and then end up moving Kerfoot for some type of assets.
Sorry, just thinking about that trade again. They got Sundqvist and Ryan Reeves. No, they got Sundqvist and Klim Kostin for Ryan Reeves.
Of course they did. That was to Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't that really weird 3-way trade.
No, that one was when for some reason Pittsburgh wanted Derek Brassard and they gave up a first, Ian Cole, and Philip Gustafson.
Didn't they also get Ryan Reeves?
Ryan Reeves went to Vegas from Pittsburgh to Vegas. Yeah.
Oh my God! What a
that was a bad. That was when we're like Jim Rutherford's asset match.
That's when it started going downhill for for Jim Rutherford. I think that's it on all the player stuff. We'll get to the playoffs, but I guess we should mention it. No, I should have opened this up. But Mike Kitchen obviously is not returning to the Florida Panthers for next season. Daniel, can you tell us why? Because I don't have it up here, and I'm just looking for it right now. Do you have it?
I have it here. So Mike Kitchen will not be returning to the Florida Panthers after a reported incident where he allegedly kicked another player on the back after he was sprayed by the player's water bottle after the Florida player, I guess, threw his water bottle in frustration. And they were talking about it was not considered a quote unquote friendly tap of encouragement, the source says, according to Frank Saravelli's article on TSN, but a full on kick where he reared back and booted him in the lower back in anger. According to reports, this former GM Dale Talon and current head coach Joel Quenneville were notified of the alleged incident, but Kitchen was not penalized or really suspended for his actions.
I don't know. We've talked about it multiple times. Obviously, he didn't come into the bubble, and I think there was some suspicious. It was suspicious when that happened, when he decided he didn't want to come into the bubble. My question is, did the NHL know?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of that too. Like, it's kind of like they swept it under the rug. And, I think the fact that the Panthers did not speak out about it and just kind of leave it as it was is kind of just iffy with me, because I know he's been a long time assistant coach for Joel Quenneville.
Was he there in Chicago?
Yes, he was there with Quenneville with the Blues and with the Blackhawks.
Okay.
So, pretty of a weird situation for me. I don't know to kind of think of this. I know Joe Quenneville said, I know Kitch, and in a lot of ways, I know exactly what makes him work, and I think we've got a great working relationship.
That's great. That's not what the issue is at hand.
Yeah, but apparently there's the expectation that his Quenneville's entire coaching staff was supposed to return for 2021.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not anymore.
Not anymore.
I think this is just another thing to add on to the list of things that Dale Talon has done wrong.
Yeah, to not address it earlier just made it look a lot worse than it is. I think it's just another thing, like we've talked about, like the same thing with the Coyotes. It's just another thing for the Florida Panthers to kind of deal with now. That,
I mean, if they just addressed it, it would have been fine.
I think it would have been applauded for it, to be honest. It would have been
fine. Think about that. I don't remember what his name was. In Chicago. Do you remember who it was who left around January after everything went down? Mark Crawford. It was Mark Crawford. Remember, he left. They gave him a leave of absence, and then I believe he ended up joining back with the team. I don't remember exactly what the incident was, so I don't want to make something up. There was no issue there, right? Like they handled it. It was handled, and that was it.
They went on their way. Like they, I think it's just kind of things where I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but it's just kind of like the people who are involved with this are these guys that have had they've had a friendship already with Mike Kitchen, and these are guys that are the quote unquote, old time hockey kind of guys that maybe these are how things were kind of dealt with previously that we don't know of, that, it's not how it is anymore.
I mean, they'll figure it out eventually. I don't know, like, or maybe they won't. I think there's that. That's the thing. Now it comes down to, did the NHL know? Like, did the league itself know? We know Quenneville and Dale Talon knew, but if the league knew, I think it creates many more issues.
It does.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just another thing. It was like in Frank Savelli's um, article on it. He also brought to light like the present situation that the Panthers are in with Dale Talon and his own alleged racist remarks in the bubble. It's just another thing to add on for the Panthers, where it just, if these things were handled earlier, then these things wouldn't be as prevalent, or something that now everything's on the Panthers.
Yeah, and if I'm I'm Mike Kitchen, receipts.
Yeah.
Right. I guess that's. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
I don't know. Just, I think for this, it's just a wait and see, to be honest.
How they handle it.
How they handle it. They have a lot on their plate now, the Panthers. So the next few weeks are going to really dictate on how they're going to deal with this and what they're going to do, for future cases like this.
For sure. Now it's a weird transition.
It is, but we had to talk about it.
We got to do it. Well, let's get to the playoffs now. Let's get to the series that is finito, as they say. The Dallas Stars beat the Vegas Golden Knights. Huh?
Yeah, I saw that coming.
What? That's not supposed to happen.
I know. My gosh, like, looking back, what did I say? I said Vegas in 6.
You said Vegas in 6. I said Vegas in 6. Adam's the only one who said Dallas, and I don't know if he was jinxing
said in 7.
it.
Wow.
I don't know if he was jinxing it or not. I think let's just give this man a round of applause. I think there's 2 people on Dallas who deserve a round of applause. Anton Hudobin and Rick Bowness.
Yes. Who saw that coming?
I don't think anyone saw Anton Hudobin coming. And I think I said he I told someone that he just doubled what he would get in free agency from the start of the season. I don't necessarily think that's true. I just think he's definitely earned himself a contract. And if I'm Anton Hudobin and someone says, well, Yaroslav Halak got this contract. Sorry, I took my team to the Stanley Cup Finals. And Yaroslav Halak is not a bad goalie. Obviously, he was put into that in a weird situation. The team in front of him was not performing.
Mm-hmm.
But come on.
Yeah, I know. Like, we've always had that like same idea of like what Yaroslav Halak could do, like 2010, and then this year as well. And I don't know, the way Anton Hudobin's been able to do it, like the fact that he robbed Colorado and then he robbed Vegas of so many like scoring opportunities is just a testament that it's not a fluke. That what I kind of feel with him is that he's always had that ability to be a consistent 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call him. Like when he was on Boston, like his 2 times there, he kind of showed that. When he was on Minnesota, he also showed that. And the way he's been bouncing around the league, it always kind of confused me, because it's the kind of guy that if given the opportunity, then he could be as good as we think he is. We've seen how he is.
If I'm Dallas, I am signing. I'm signing this guy right now. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
How about Rick Bowness? We talked about Rick Bowness last episode. We both agreed he deserves to be Dallas head coach. Man, that's just a story. Obviously he comes in at weird time. Obviously they let go of Jim Montgomery for external reasons. I mean, it couldn't have gone any better for Rick Bowness.
Yeah, like I don't think so. Like I think one comparable I saw was when Mike Sullivan came in to the Pittsburgh Penguins. But at the same time, I think Rick Bowness is
Oh.
you know, his rise is arguably more, more worthy of our applause because, to take this team as the way it was built, not really having an idea of who was going to be your starter, the whole thing is kind of like that wrench is kind of thrown in where, Ben Bishop's unfit to play. And then you inherit a team where, you have Jamie Benn, you have Tyler Seguin, you have these, Rupe Hintz, you have these pieces here and there, but, you don't have Crosby, you don't have Malkin, you don't have a Phil Kessel that kind of went off.
Yeah.
And to still make the most out of this. And, we could say what we want about the whole analytics situation and the goal differential for this team, but I that just makes the story a lot more astounding to me.
Yeah, it's definitely a great story for Rick Bowness. And I think what this team was getting in this series and even in last series that they weren't getting during the regular season is that they were scoring or they were getting points from different places, right? The only main guy who forward guy who I said, oh, like I'd want him to put up more was Tyler Seguin, who only had an assist.
Yeah.
But other than that,
things were working. And like once again, I am sorry to all Dallas Stars fans that, I underestimated them. I said that they're not a complete team, but, under pressure, they really did come together. Like it was a team effort. They don't, they have the Miro Heiskanen, but they don't have a guy that just simply dominated for them every night.
I have a question. We said Miro Heiskanen. I think we were all pretty in agreement that Miro Heiskanen was our Conn Smythe winner. Is Anton Hudobin making a push?
If this continues in the finals, no question, he is my guy. Honestly, if they lose in Game 7 to the Islanders or the Lightning, I think Anton Hudobin still takes the Conn Smythe.
No, you think so?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that because I think Tampa. Well, I'm assuming Tampa's. I'm assuming.
And after last night, I was like, that was such a deflating last goal.
Tampa's gonna win, but I think Tampa has a couple guys. I really hope Brain Point comes back, and Victor Hedman has been an absolute beast in the playoffs this year. I don't know if I'd give it to Anton Hudobin even if they lose. I can't make the argument.
Oh, okay.
Should we talk about Tyler Seguin and the analytics and Pierre Maguire?
I think for me, I just found it funny, to be honest, when he talked about it, where Tyler Seguin, he's a joking guy, and I don't think he is kind of like that throwback kind of guy where it's like, throw your advanced numbers out the window. I don't need it to perform. Like what I bring to the ice is what I bring to the ice. And I don't know. I think he just kind of saying, I got away with it, even though the numbers, were against me.
Listen, I think analytics are helpful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they can't be everything, and I don't know if you can use them as an excuse.
Yeah,
when you lose, in this obviously in this case, because
only in Leafs losses where it's like despite the score,
the
Leafs had like this certain possession percentage. It's funny.
I don't care that you had 2%. You had a shooting percentage of 2. Do something about it. Like. That's not good enough. Like that's not good enough for me. But I think he makes a point, and I think Pierre Maguire makes a good point too. Obviously, like I think they push really hard. The analytics guys push really hard, really, really, really hard, because they're good to use, but I don't think they're good to use as saying, "Oh, Vegas lost." Because you look at that series, I think Vegas did dominate in terms of puck possession.
Mm-hmm.
But they still lost. It's great that they had the puck the entire time.
They just
They didn't
didn't
put the puck in the
perform.
back of the net.
Yeah,
So
which was surprising to me. Like
which was
we complimented their offense for how long, and then it just dried up like that.
yeah, it's gone. I feel I should stop making predictions. I have to bring this guy up because I don't want to get mad if I didn't. Max Pacioretty was absolutely invisible for 8
Yeah.
straight games, 0 goals.
Max, what are you doing? I think
I guess things never change
yeah, for the contract he's been given, he has performed
during the
when
regular
during
season.
the regular season. It's just the
Yeah.
playoffs. It just I don't know. It just they got nothing out of him. I don't know how to kind of describe it in a way. I think when Vegas got him, he kind of had that leadership quality where, in these pressure situations, he's someone that will lead by example. But I don't know. He just lost his footing out there.
Yeah, it seems like same playoff Max
Yeah.
In Montreal. You know what? I was let's before we move on from this series, there's one thing that got on my nerves when Pete DeBoer said it, that Thatcher Demko rattled the Golden Knights.
I don't buy it, to be honest.
That is one of the worst excuses I've heard. And last night I stayed up extra late to read the excuses of Patrick Beverley, the excuses of Paul George, the excuses of Lou Williams. That was like, I'm sorry, that's great that like, but you beat Thatcher Demko. You beat him. So,
I don't know. It's just
where are you coming from, man?
the way I kind of see is that this is not a rookie team. These are guys that are in their prime that they've been around the block. They know how playoff hockey is. They know how to kind of go from one series to the other. That there's really no excuse. Unless you're Cody Glass, I don't buy it.
I don't take that as an excuse. I think it's a really poor thing to say. And did you know Pete DeBoer was the coach? Just to let you know, came and get his team to a cup final. Come on, I bet if Gerard Gallant was the coach, that they'd be in the cup final.
Maybe
that guy's a proven cup finalist.
Okay? I mean, Pete DeBoer, first year he went to the finals with the Devils. 2012.
Sure.
Yeah,
he almost won the cup.
I know. With a 40-year-old Martin Brodeur.
Oh God, why? Do you think this changes anything for Vegas? Like, I know there's a lot of talks of they really did go. It seemed like they went all in this year. They brought in Alec Martinez. They made some moves to. It seemed, but I don't necessarily think this changes much. What about you?
I don't think either. Like, I think. Like I went back to it because I think we've just been so used to Vegas being good that you're like, where's the urgency? They're a 3-year-old franchise. Like, really, where's the urgency? And the way they're built, the guys they have everywhere. Like, it's not like any of these guys are aging or, these guys just signed extensions.
Yeah, that's an interest. Like, that's an interesting point. Like, not many of these guys are that old. Like the core is I guess Mark Stone's 28, Carlson's 27, Smith 29, Marchessault 29, Tuck 24. Sorry, Cody Glass is 21, Nate Schmidt is 29, Shea Theodore is 25. Right?
Yeah.
I don't see.
And Robin Leonard, 30?
Robin Leonard's gonna be 30, yeah. Like, I don't see it that, yeah. Like, of course not aging.
The way I kind of see it is like, just keep doing your thing.
Yeah, like, listen, the cupboards aren't dry.
No,
right?
Not at all.
I don't think Kelly McCrimmon's gonna make a stupid decision this offseason. I think the stupidest thing he did all season was firing Gerard Gallant because Marc-Andre Fleury wasn't performing. Sorry, Daniel, he wasn't performing.
I know, it's okay.
It's just a fact. Like,
yeah,
it's just a fact. Before we move on, Dude, everyone's been talking about that we need to change the penalty, that we need to change the rule on the over the glass, and it's a 2-minute penalty. Just don't do it. How about that?
Yeah.
Like, it's a rule. Okay, follow it. Okay, that's it.
Hmm.
Do you think they should change it?
I don't know. It's just kind of like it's funny when like it happens. You're like, all right, like for your team, like all right, no worries. But like it's something that it's coming up way too often now that I'm seriously considering like maybe they should.
But okay, so I heard an interesting rule change. The first time um that you do it, you
Hmm.
don't you don't get a penalty, but your guys have to stay on the ice. No line change. I think they were considering it similar to how the icing is done. The second time and time after that, obviously you get a penalty. But just like give them the penalty at the first time.
Yeah,
You're delaying. All you're doing is delaying the inevitable. It's gonna happen.
yeah.
I don't know why you're gonna change it. And I get this one was a fluke accident. And listen, nothing against Zach Whitecloud, but he did it.
That was
Okay.
pretty. Yeah, that was really bad.
The only time people complain about it is when it happens against their team and they lose because of it. It's just true. It's just a fact.
Hmm.
Right? It's just a is that one's just a fact. Let's get to the Tampa Islanders series.
I
I,
stayed up for that last night.
I did too. I stayed up for that double overtime. Do the Islanders know that to win in overtime you have to put the puck in the net?
I know. I
I
know.
felt
What is
like
it?
they didn't realize that.
6 minutes into double overtime, they had 22 shots.
It was. Listen, I don't like the oil. Like, I'm not a big fan of the Islanders,
Dump and chase.
anyways. But that's some boring ass hockey.
Yeah. Not exactly, the most mesmerizing with things, but for some reason they still keep making it work. Like I think Tampa at that point, like their speed really kind of caught up with them, where they were making the plays, but eventually, like when they collapsed in their own zone, it just that's where the Eberle goal comes out of.
Yeah, the reason I'm not worried about Tampa Bay for Game 6 or Game 7 is that they've been dominating practically the entire series. And that's why I'm like they'll come out in Game 6. And another thing, it's not that because they've been dominating the series based off of advanced stats. They know how to play the Islanders game, right? They faced Columbus. Columbus, similar game plan to the
Mm-hmm.
Islanders. They faced Boston, similar-ish, not the same plan, but similar. But they play that they'll get in deep, they'll get pucks deep, they'll do the dump and chase if they have to. They know how to play against that Islanders style, and I think that's what gives them the advantage. That's what's gonna give them the advantage in Game 6.
Yeah, I completely agree that the Lightning have they've been tested how many times with this where they have these defensive systems that they go against, and they're not just trying to outskill them. They're saying, okay, this is how we're going to adapt, but at the same time too, like this, we're not going to lose sight of what our game is, and they've been able to kind of keep doing that. So I agree. I think it really is Tampa's series to lose. I don't think they should look too much into this 2-1 loss in double overtime and kind of think about, okay, what can we do differently in terms of offense? I think they just have to keep doing what they need to do and just, you know, not get into like the way I see it is like not get into what the Islanders like idea of how they should play, but kind of just not overthink that too much, but just keep going with what they can do. And I know that like losing Braden Point was huge for them, and it did create a lot more changes on what they had to do with their special teams as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's just this Tampa team is just too good to lose in a way. This series.
It'd be listen. They Dallas plays a little bit of a boring game, boring game of hockey. But oh my God, the Islanders versus the Stars would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
I really don't want to watch it. I'd rather watch golf, okay? And I don't watch golf ever.
I mean, apparently, according to the Brendan Gallagher quotes, that's where we should be going for the media scrums now.
Where?
To these golf tournaments to get those contract quotes.
I'm down.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
this is
Let's
no
do it.
longer at the arena; it's at the golf club.
It's got to be
golf club.
outside. It's got to be outside. It's
Yeah,
got to be COVID friendly. I think another important point that we got to talk about for Tampa is they are still missing Braden. Like they missed Braden Point last night, and they still dominated. In terms of like how the game went, they still dominated without Braden Point, which is very scary.
Yeah, this team, like their depth, and just even too, like one thing that we've talked about was they've been able to get the most out of these guys that everyone kind of wrote them off, and that includes Zach Bogosian and Kevin Shattenkirk. These guys
Hey, let's not forget about Leafs legend Luke Shen. Okay,
yes,
let's not forget about.
I'm happy he's reinvented himself. You know, he gets the 10 minutes. But yeah, these guys that they've been overlooked by other teams that maybe they didn't fulfill those quote unquote expectations that people had of them, but to go to this Lightning team, understand their role, and become solid contributors. That's just another testament to like the Lightning's system that they've been able to not only draft amazing guys in whatever round they're given, but bring in these guys that just fit in seamlessly. Like we all thought, the era of the big defenseman that is like in Luke Shen is done, but they've been able to kind of remold him into someone that really fits that team.
What are the chances the Leafs? Luke Shen doesn't have a contract next year.
Yeah,
what are the chances the Leafs bring that guy back?
I like how he shoots right-handed.
I mean, he shoots right-handed. We kind of need one of those guys. That'd be very helpful. He is out of a contract. What did he make this year?
I think it's like
$700,000.
Wow, that's basically Jason Spezza money.
Let's do it. Let's bring back Luke Shen. Sorry,
I can only dream
about Luke Shen. I don't know. No, let's not bring back Luke Shen. I love that guy, but I'd rather have James Van Riemsdyk.
No.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not on this contract.
No, but 3 years ago, James Van Riemsdyk.
3 years ago, James Van Riemsdyk. Yes. What do you think about the New York Islanders? Like, what set them? What set them apart last night in terms of, like we talked about, Tampa dominated the game, but at the end of the day, the Islanders still won that game in overtime. What set them apart?
They were patient. They picked their shots. They didn't let the barrage of the Lightning offense kind of bring them down or anything. I think Semyon Varlamov really held the fort a lot better than what we saw in the previous game, where it was a 4-1 game, and it was just kind of like typical of what you expect, how the series is supposed to go. And then suddenly they were able to kind of adapt to that. Not say like we're going to match them shot for shot, but we're going to play our game, and they were able to kind of really isolate the Lightning. The Lightning still get a lot of good quality chances, but they still let them still get the shot on net, but not from like these key scoring chances. Not the same thing we saw in game 4.
And what happens next game?
Ooh, if Braden Point is back, I think Tampa takes this 3-1.
3-1. That's what we're going with, and we'll remember that for Sunday. Last question: what do the Islanders have to pay Ryan Pulock and Matthew Barzal?
Matt Barzal, I know it's Lou Lamoriello doing the negotiations, so
you know what? If he's not signed by the start of training camp, we're just going to trade him. Okay? That's what's going to happen. That's what everyone says should have happened. Okay?
That's
fair.
based on what he did to the New Jersey Devils, I don't see that being like an impossible thing. But to be honest, I
Yeah, no.
remember like
Yeah.
every time the Devils had like a big time free agent, they just walked. Like Lou just let them walk. Like Brian Rafalski, I know Scott Niedermayer wanted to play with his brother, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like these like Zach Parise walked. Um,
Right.
yeah, what
It,
I kind of fueled it was you have to pay Matt Barzal.
if I told you that the New York Islanders have just a tad under $9 million of cap space, what would you tell me?
I don't know. Take Matt Barzal.
Because it's
Give him the
true.
money.
They have $9 million, and they have to pay Matthew Barzal, and they have to pay Ryan Pulak and Devin Taves. So someone's going. Let's just be real here.
I think it's Devin Taves.
No, but they can sign all three of them. But they're going to have to trade someone who's making the big bucks, like Johnny Boychuk.
I don't know who's going to take that contract.
Andrew Ladd. Like, here's the thing, and I'm going to bring this back to the point I was making before about the Zach Parise trade. I don't think they do the Zach Parise trade.
No.
It doesn't work mathematically unless they take Andrew Ladd and they take someone else.
Johnny Boychuk and Andrew Ladd for Zach Parise.
And I don't even know if that's enough.
No. I don't know. I think like they dig deep into like what else they can kind of give up. If like Ryan Pulak and Devin Taves are their future, along with Nick Leddy, do you give up a Scott Mayfield?
The issue is, do you give up something part of their D? Because that's what's made them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I hate to say it, but maybe a Brock Nelson.
Maybe don't pay. Like, listen, I love the Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Like, I think he's a really good fit for the team. But to extend him right away,
yeah,
or the Anders Lee deal at $7 million, I'm not. Listen, I'm not a big fan of the Anders Lee deal at $7 million.
We don't understand. Maybe we don't know his locker room presence, but yeah, I kind of agree that for the player he is, that's a lot of money. It seemed like a loyalty contract, but it's something that I really felt that money could have gone somewhere else.
They couldn't sign Panarin, so they signed Anders Lee. Remember, he was about to walk, and they won a free agency. Sorry, they won a free agency, and they couldn't get Panarin, and they signed Anders Lee.
Kind of, yeah. That's
just a fact.
It's hard to kind of say because like I always kind of see him as like that fabric of that core, but yeah, I think these contracts now are going to start to add up. And to be honest, like they've got them to where they need to go with the system, but like when I look at it now, like you have to pay Matt Barzal, but do you give this much money to a core like Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, Josh Bailey? Like, how do you assess these guys like moving forward? Like, they're not old, but at the same time, they're not
making money.
Yeah, they're making money, but they're also not at like a caliber I feel that will have the longevity.
I'll help them out. There's 3 players who combine for almost $10 million. Leo Komarov at $3 million. Casey Zizekas, $3.35 million. And Kyle Clutterbuck at $3.5 million.
That's a lot of money. Though I personally think those are harder to move than Anton Roussel and Jay Beagle. Yeah.
Well, no, see, the thing is, because the Anton Roussel and Jay Beagle deals, I think, are a little bit longer. Zizekas is 1 more year, and Clutterbuck and Komarov are next year and the year after that. So maybe they're not as hard to move.
I mean, like, I'd like them as character guys, but that money.
It's the money. That's the issue. I don't want Leo Komarov at $3 million. This was the issue when he let. This was the issue when he was a free agent in Toronto. And go ahead, walk. Who's paying you $3 million?
I don't know. You had that one All-Star game.
Because the Leafs were crap. They were literal trash. It was like I took a dump in a garbage can and lit it on fire.
No.
That's what it was. That's what that team was. We both know it. You got to agree with me. Maybe it was a little aggressive, but 15-16 Leafs get me upset.
It's a different time.
Different time. They still get me upset, just not as much.
Okay.
Let me double check Twitter. Do you have anything else to say before we end the episode?
I think I'm good. We've talked about everything. I was surprised at how long we talked about the Islanders.
I felt bad.
They're a team where we always talk about, it's not interesting. We don't talk about it. And then we end up like assessing, okay, like what's kind of working with them in terms of their cap. And
the thing is we start talking about them and then we just move on to a different team without giving them enough attention. And I kind of feel bad.
Yeah. So is there any Islanders fans listening to this? We're sorry. We'll try to give more attention to them.
No, we're not. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, Daniel, you want to end the episode?
Yeah. To all our listeners and to hopefully our viewers on our YouTube channel, thank you for listening in to this episode of the 201 podcast. If there's anything on your mind, anything you want us to cover, anything that you kind of felt that we could do better,
Leave a review.
Let us know. Leave a review.
Leave a comment.
Leave a comment. Get to us on our social media. Alex, Adam, and I are on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. Thank you again to Voiced Ed for giving us this platform. And as I mentioned before, check us out on Spotify. Check out us on YouTube. Exactly. You could see Alex's great sweater and my great red hat I'm wearing today.
Go Leafs, go.
Yes, but until next time, to our listeners and viewers, we love you guys.
Yep. See you on Sunday, guys.